jump into playing some games, huh? So this is the deep, pretty classic Runeterra archetype based around the mechanic it's named after. So the deep mechanic here says this thing gets bigger when you have 15 or fewer cards in your deck. And Nautilus here is one of the cornerstones of this archetype. He notably levels up when you get deep. So he goes from a 0-12 to a 13-13 that makes all other sea monster allies cost 4 less. So this build is basically looking to get deep as quickly as possible, as consistently as possible, using the toss mechanic, which is basically a self-mill mechanic. It obliterates X non-champion cards from explicitly the bottom of your deck. So this notably never tosses our most powerful cards in Maokai or Nautilus. So things like Dredgers, Jettison, Thorny Toad, Bloom, Wanderer, Slaughter Docks, Salvage. Lots of ways to get cards out of our deck as quickly as possible. And then things like Grasp of the Undying, as well as Withering Wail to help keep us alive so we can last to get to things like Nautilus. Devourer of the Depths is a little bit of interaction, and then Shipwreck Hoarder, which puts these pretty powerful treasure effects into our deck, like this is 5 mana, and it summons 24 power worth of units, which is quite strong. Maokai is an alternative win condition in this archetype. When your units are died or you've tossed cards 25 times, he levels up. And the level up Maokai obliterates everything but 4 non-champion cards out of the opponent's deck, which usually closes the game out pretty quickly because remember in Runeterra, when you go to draw but can't, you lose the game. So let's go ahead and dive on into some games with this and see how it does in a format post-Aphelios. I have to imagine this deck's probably okay against a lot of the more mid-rangey decks that Aphelios has given birth to. Basically mulliganing things that don't help us get deep quickly. The opponent's archetype, Zoe Aesol, is a control deck, so it's not likely to kill Thorny Toad. I think I'm going to keep this Salvage. Definitely keeping Slaughter Docks. Dredgers on 1 to start is great. Slaughter Docks is a card that tosses the beginning of each round, so getting to play this sooner rather than later is excellent. So we can get tossing right away. We explicitly do not have a good answer to Zoe in this hand. I would love to see a Vile Feast. Yeah, it seems like the Runeterra devs are leaning into casual play really well, too. The single-player lab experience is something that hopefully we'll see them expand on more. Things like Slay the Spire and roguelites tend to be very popular, and it's neat to see a video game of CCG like Runeterra expand into that space. Jaw Hunters is great. Not quite Vile Feast good for killing Zoe, but hopefully lets us challenge her down next turn. And if they kill this next turn, we'll be able to Grasp of the Undying it on their following turn. So she'll only get to generate two tokens here. It should be able to kill her long before she levels at the very least. Have a Pale Cascade or something, or are we just trading here? Sure. We're just pushing points of damage, which makes sense. With cards like Jettison, you almost always want to wait to the last second to play these cards. Obviously, if you're going to lose mana, it can be worth playing this out sooner, but if you're not going to be losing mana, this is a burst speed spell, so you might as well wait to play it out. If it can get us deep for something like Slaughter Docks, we'll play it out, but if there's not an incentive like that, generally speaking, it's right to wait. Morning, Moondress. What's going on, Drago? Deep's an archetype we played a few times on stream. I think this deck was super reasonable before the Aphelios patch, and I would be surprised if it's not reasonable now. Definitely going to be grasping the Zoe here. Want to kill her before she levels, want to stop her from drawing super cool star charts every turn. She should be dead here with them on 3 resources. I don't think they have anything for just 3 that saves her from a drain here. I've been playing this deep deck a lot. It's one of the best deep decks. I always have deep around 7 or so under with it. Yeah, big agree. I think a lot of the ways that other people have built this archetype in the recent past are pretty bad. I think just like no frills, just get deep as quickly as possible. Our few cards that aren't helping us get deep quickly are cards that... Our few cards that aren't helping us get deep quickly are cards that help keep us alive against aggro, because our top-end late game is so good against non-aggro. Maximizing the aggro matchup makes a lot of sense, in my opinion. Someone in chat just mentioned getting Nautilus leveled on curve, and that's actually something we're going to be able to do this game, right? So actually, I can flush the toilet next turn, right? So I'm at 21 cards here, so if I go Salvage and Jettison, we're going to see exactly what someone in chat just mentioned, which is we'll be deep on 7 when we play Nautilus. I have a 13-13 on turn 7. Do I want to Jettison again? Honestly, I probably do. This is at 18 out of 25. So this is at 22 out of 25. This will toss at the start of turn, which will put us to 23 out of 25. Flush the toilet. And this is like one of the worst hits we can get there, and it's still just like a 7/7, which is great. When Nautilus levels, he puts 4 tossed allies that cost 4 or more back into our deck, which is great. So we're going to just start dropping bombs here. We get to drop Nautilus, which makes all of our other sea monsters cost 4 less. Which means this will cost 3. This will be free.
Oh yeah, that's a pretty sparkle fly.
Blood
and salt.
These are my sea monsters. There are many like them, but these ones are mine. Got me.
Ooh, that's new.
Trade with some dragons over here. And then actually, once these die, Maokai is going to come into play leveled next turn, right? Because I'm going to have 2 things die here. Oh no, not Sharpsight. How will we ever win the game now? So Maokai is going to come down to obliterate my opponent's deck, sans 4 non-champion cards. Let's start on Shipwreck Order. In case they kill this. Feels a little bit bad to mill the other Shipwreck Order, but let's put 2 treasures in our deck, which are quite powerful. So we'll put our opponent on that 2-way squeeze, right? Like, Maokai is going to obliterate their deck, but then they also have giant monsters in play that they have to beat. So they have to kill us before they run out of cards in their deck, but they also have to not die to our board as well. With 2 more Nautiluses rolled up here, it's pretty good. This is like turn... So, like, we had turn 7 Nautilus deep, and then we had turn 8 Maokai obliterate your deck. Really highlighting that super lean efficiency that this deck's capable of. Hands right. Thank you for the 14 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Good morning.
The rot must be cut away.
Oh no, don't heal 5. Opponent forgetting the fact here that they could heal their unit with this. Small mistake from them. Probably doesn't matter. But they could have definitely put health onto this Eclipse Dragon here. offer this trade here. I want to take 13. Nautilus is very scary, chat.
Give them room to spread their leaves.
Ooh, plate worm egg. So, opponent has this attack step. They'll draw to 2 cards on my turn. They'll draw to 1 card on their turn. They'll draw to 0 cards here, and they'll lose. So they have this attack and 1 more here, and then the game is over. Casual 24 power worth of worms here. Your move, Yugi boy. This is all I got. I just like to remind folks, like, whenever I see comments that it's been a long time since people have seen decks that I play frequently, that my YouTube channel exists. It's so impossible to grow YouTube. But like we played this deck a bunch. I think this deck's even up on my website. I forget. I'm pretty sure I threw it up there because I like this build a lot. Like, if you haven't seen, yeah, it's definitely up there in the mid-range section. If you haven't seen this build before, it's very good. It's very competitive. We've played it a number of times. Yeah. Going back to doing Magic stuff reminded me of just how bad my Runeterra stuff does on YouTube. Like, my videos from yesterday, my most watched Runeterra video had like 400 views, and my most watched Magic video is like 2,500. It's like such a stark difference. I think I'm mulliganing this. I don't really want this early. I'd like to just have more cards to get me deep as quickly as possible. Wouldn't mind finding like a Vile Feast too to have an early blocker here. I mean, it's not even really Magic hype. That's just like the average number of views my Magic stuff got before I took a break to focus on Runeterra.
Stuff makes happy. Where to trust?
That's great too. God of War is great.
Once I stamp paper, smell faces.
Big fan of the GOW.
Can you improve perfection?
This is gonna be. We're on track to just have another turn 7 naughty level, huh? Actually, we might actually hit deep. We might actually hit deep on 6 for this card. We're at 24 cards in deck. This is 20. This is 16. Our draw is 15. We're gonna be deep round 4 actually if we wanted to.
I'm ready.
Yeah, we're gonna play this. We're gonna play this leveled on turn 6. He's dead, Jim. You've killed him.
System upgrade.
And again, I mentioned earlier, you don't really want to play these proactively unless you're gonna lose mana. So I am gonna go ahead and just play these here because I don't want to lose the 2 mana here. We'll use that spell mana at some point. So we unfortunately can't do anything else this turn, and we can't do this next turn. But if we can just not die in the interim, we'll be okay. Let's see what other leases they're able to deploy here. Does Fizz bounce the sea monster target? I don't understand your question. Oh, does Fizz stop this? Yes, Fizz counters spells and skills. And this is a skill because it has this yellow skill circle. So Fizz does in fact protect himself from Power of the Depths.
Perfection.
What Fizz does not protect himself from though is Warping Whale, which we have 2 copies of, so that's definitely our best draw here. This Twitch stream was pre-recorded in front of a live audience. Come on, play a Burblefish. Play a Burblefish, opponent.
Evolve or die.
Evolve or die.
Oh, I wanna play.
Hey, let's see if they can play 2 more spells here or not. If they can play 2 more spells, they save Fizz by leveling him. Yeah, this deck definitely has the least overlap between other decks in Runeterra, and it's not particularly close. Especially the more expensive cards in this deck. That's really scary. Okay, so they're playing this and they're blue carding with it, and then they already picked a card for the church. This is going to be at 5 out of 8. So if they have Rummage plus the new fleeting card, they're going to get to level this. I do get to do this and obliterate him, but if they level this, the next one will be leveled, so... Rummage plus the new card could level this very easily. Twisted Fate levels obnoxiously quickly in the opponent's archetype. Like, they just played it. It's like threatening to level here with the right burst spell. If they don't level this Twisted Fate, we should be in a very good spot. Honestly, even if they do level it, Nautilus into Maokai leveled is probably gonna get us there. Leveled Maokai is very good against leveled Twisted Fate, because leveled Twisted Fate, they don't get the option to play a card, and they always play blue card first, so they deck out. Yeah, I would imagine this pause means they're just got it. Yeah. You love to see it. Things lining up super well here for us. We drew the whale.
Never lost a
He had the thing to kill their Twisted Fate. There you got me. We'll see how many of their fleeting cards they're able to play out here from their pick a card. I wonder if we'll see them. They could have the one mana burst card. Oh, they're just pick a carding again. Yep, that makes sense. So this Twisted Fate is again going to be very threatening next turn, but hopefully we can get the old Maokai level up here. No, they haven't touched Lee Sin. In fact, the changes made in the last patch arguably made Lee Sin better. They also haven't adjusted Fiora. Runeterra's format's like varied enough that you don't hit those decks a ton, but when you hit them, they're still very frustrating. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I feel like if they were unhappy with Lee Sin, they would have done something to it by now. So I'm kind of expecting that to be a thing that sticks at this point. Yeah, the Anivia deck being back is not great either. For sure is a feels bad. Does playing Nautilus this turn actually accomplish anything? It doesn't really, right? I think I'm gonna salvage and see what we get here rather than playing this. Yeah, Vile Feast being able to kill this is great. And then we can play this and flush the toilet next turn. So this is at 20 out of 25. This will put us to 21. So we're very, very close to leveling Maokai. Just need a couple of units to die. These are very scary. Now, the good news is when we play Naughty next turn, it'll turn the other Nautilus into a Riptide, which should hopefully help keep us alive. It's not really a hard and fast roll, Drago. Also, if you read what they said, it's not They didn't say they make changes based on a 55% win rate. They said a 55% win rate is one of the things they make changes based around. It's far from the only one. And they actually said, if you read what they wrote, they said 55% and 15% of the format were the metrics that they looked at. So, like, for example, the thing that anybody could have predicted, Shen Fiora posted a 57% win rate with like 9% or 10% of the format for the last week, which was unfortunately pretty predictable with the last set of changes. Chronicler of Rune. You know, I think we talked about that. Yeah, I don't know. I like where this list is. Burblefish is very good, especially in conjunction with what's it called? Alright, so we're dead. I think we're dead. Yeah, we're actually just dead, right? They play this. Yeah, that doesn't seem particularly winnable, huh? We're not able to block them inside of combat at all. We even had like an incredible blowout with the whale there on the opportune turn when we drew it on turn 5, and that game still was not close. Yeah, I didn't say that changes till champions are off the table. I just said that Lee Sin and Fiora have been what they are for a long enough time that I don't really expect them to change at this point. I think they're probably happy with where those champions are and what they're doing. If they weren't happy with the play patterns of those champions, they've had lots of opportunities to adjust them already, and they've explicitly declined not to do that. Yeah, based on win rate, the Lee Sin deck's actually super average. So, like, talking about stats, while Fiora, and I've talked about that plenty too, while Fiora hit a 57% win rate since the last patch, Lee Sin was actually down to about 50%, even though it was the second most played deck. So, like, again, if you're happy with the play patterns of that deck from a win rate perspective, there's really no reason to change it. There's no incentive to do anything different with it. From a pure by the metric standpoint, Lee Sin is fine. It's just tough because, like, combo decks like that, they feel worse in Runeterra than they do in Magic, because at least in Magic you have a sideboard, and in Runeterra that's just not an option. The lack of an ability to, like, pivot your deck post board in games against things like that are tough. I am told from people that play Lee Sin that Lee Sin has a very bad Anivia matchup, which became very popular in the last patch. Alright, Mr. Hunters, see if we can hook him. This is actually a great generation from this too, because it's elusive, so if they have Mystic Shot or another Troll Chant here, which is likely, we can deploy this to hopefully block this next turn.
I got ways to find me mushrooms. Going harvesting.
Need to murder this Teemo, that's great.
Excuse you.
Oh, they had a frostbite, yikes. I agree that from a play pattern perspective, Fiora is less offensive than Lee Sin, but I also think it's the better deck. Like, the Fiora Shen deck has put up incredible play rates and win rates for a long time now. So I assume they're going to level this and then smack us with it.
In the morning. Success is planting your mushroom seed. hit him.
You know if there's any plans? There explicitly are not. So per the devs, sideboard style formats are not things that they're looking into at this time. They would prefer to focus on multi-deck formats, which is fine. I just think the multi-deck formats are a lot less interesting when there's a bunch of polarizing. There's a bunch of polarizing matchups. Well, you could have best of 3 hyper. Hey, thanks for the support, Gladrill. I appreciate the 1.5 years. Good to be back doing magic stuff.
Danger.
All right, we're gonna try and murder the Teemo. The 3rd time's the charm, right? This is the time we finally kill him, chat. He said optimistically. Yikes. Rawr. This part where they troll chance and eat both my things. They need to hit us with the Teemo again here. You're gonna stack us up to 64 puff caps.
Swiftly.
Yeah, that's actually super true. The way Runeterra is structured as a game, you could 100% do a best of one sideboarded format in Runeterra. That's actually something I hadn't thought about. That's a super good point. Because of how you see your opponent's deck, you could totally sideboard in game 1s and not do best of 3.
Come on in.
It's actually not something I thought about at all, but it's super true.
I've carved meat bigger than you.
Hitting with this and drawing a card isn't even that good on average because of all the puff caps in our deck.
Put on me mask, secure me tail, start the day.
I don't know, I'd probably start with 10 Necker. 25% of your deck size. That's something you'd want to work on and test and try. I feel like sideboarding complicates things for a lot of new players. It does. But you'll also note that I didn't say replace and make every format a sideboard format and get rid of the current queues that we have and make it so it's the only format people can play. Sideboard is incredibly skill testing and complicated. It's definitely something that's difficult for new players and rewards people who are good at what they do, or good at and know what's going on. You can toss cards with puff caps on them to the person that asked that question.
I was forged by winter. You own what you take.
The water rises.
Oh, you said, do I get shroomed by? No. No, you don't take shroom damage when you toss cards.
They'll never know what hit him.
Oh, I'm so dumb. I forgot that this was they were gonna hook this. I should have played the Oblitefish on the Teemo here.
Tire of waiting.
Yeah, we're super dead.
So many lost.
Not really, Blizzard Edge. That's not really true because we see most of our deck in these games. Like, our deck is super small. So from a game theory standpoint, the bottom. Yeah, I mean, there's basically just like no agency in that game. Just like took every shot we could get and we missed on all of them. Just got completely run out. Honestly, this thing is great, right? Like, they're playing discard aggro. Got 3 things to help us keep alive, and then this to help us get deep. If they choose to open attacks next turn, we get to Vile Feast this. If they choose not to open attacks, we get to deploy a Thorny Toad. Yeah, tossing puff caps reduces Teemo's doubling ability too is a good catch. So, I think we jettison from the purpose of resource efficiency, and then we just go ahead and pass here and plan to Withering Wail next turn. We're actually going to have 7 resources next turn, so we'll be able to Wail plus Vile Feast. Huh? With that play, do I just Jaw Hunters? I think the answer is yes. I think I'd like to murder the Draven here. If we take another hit from these, it's not a big deal. I have some Mythgard decks picked out already for today. I was playing some of it off stream. They have an iPad application, so it's easy to get a couple of games in here or there.
I stand for Noxus.
So if I salvage this turn, it uses most of my resources, and then we can Wail plus Grasp to kill this over a course of a couple of turns. Yeah, I actually played a couple of games of Arena on mobile, and my cell phone didn't melt. In fact, not only did my cell phone not melt, but it didn't even really get hot, which was surprising to me. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and grasp this. It could be right to Wail to start to prevent a second crowd favorite from being big.
Jinx stands for Jinx. Durr.
One of the things that's most impressive to me about Mythgard is that Mythgard is easily the most feature-complete digital card game of any of the digital card games I've touched. Like in terms of the number of in-client features it has. They gonna level Jinx here?
Watch your step.
Yeah, they have full tournament integration. They have They have full tournament integration. They have like cube drafting in their client. They have 2v2 PvP. They have a single player. They have a single player like story-driven game mode. Like feature to feature, they have more features than any other digital card game that exists, which is really impressive considering they're a small team. Yeah, they have in-client spectator mode. You can rewatch past matches fully in client. Yeah, they're from a software perspective, they're very impressive. They didn't have second Jinx here, and they didn't level the first one, which seems pretty incredible for us. Kind of surprising. We're actually going to start with the big red deck today, Associate Penguin. that was the first thing. That was the first thing I looked to rebuild when I punked back in. Pretty sure it's still great. Alright, so we're at 18 cards in deck. I think I'm just starting with this. Actually, I can go this into this, right?
Give me the stuff. Stuff make happy.
This puts me to 15 exactly. It puts us deep. Doo-doo-doo. Doo-doo-doo. We're still at like a convenient 19 here.
The answer's here somewhere.
Answers here somewhere. Alright, so with the vision played, I think I would actually rather play Devourer of the Depths here to keep my health total a little bit high. Even with this play, I guess I could shoot this with the Vile Feast. Yeah, so they attack. I think again we just prioritize keeping our life total as high as possible here. This is gonna put us to 13. And then next turn I have 9 mana, so I can play this and then play that or this. Or what? All will drown.
Just you and me, Fishbones. And them.
And them. Try to eat the Jinx here. They could deal damage to this in response.
Know what I'll give you to the counter.
So this levels her. So if they draw Get Excited here, they can clap this in response to deny me the trigger. That would also let her generate a rocket this turn. If they hit a Get Excited here, we're actually going to be in a lot of trouble. Good chance we get burned out. I guess we had 13, which takes 4 rockets.
The sun's out, the crowd's ready. Let's rock it!
I think even if they have Jinx 3 at this point, we're in an okay spot.
Gotta stay.
So many questions.
Rules are made to be broken, like buildings. Her people.
I disagree with that assessment, Hidden Flame. I actually think a lot of the reason why the deep is fringe is because people built it incorrectly. While explicitly your Lee Sin matchup isn't great, like, this archetype destroys things like War Mothers if it's built like how we have it built here. You can't really interact properly with Lee Sin combo killing you, but like everything else, you're pretty able to race if your deck is constructed properly. You have like a touch of interaction too. Yeah, the way in which War Mothers go long, Maokai is really good. I also think, you know, something that someone mentioned earlier is that I think a lot of Deep's lack of popularity is tied to the fact that unless you're someone that has a pretty full collection, crafting the Deep has kind of a lot of risk associated with it because you're crafting a ton of cards in this archetype that literally only play in this archetype. You know, it's not like a lot of other Runeterra decks where the cards that you're building like go into a lot of things. Like those are deep cards, and that's all they are is deep cards. So since they open on attacks, we definitely just want to play Slaughter Docs to start here, getting this down ASAP, so that way we can get it tossing to start is great. Yeah, I mean, if you already incidentally have the cards, like, it's not a big deal. But, like, that's a big reason why, like, newer players won't craft this deck because of the portability of it. I think I want to just Maokai here so I can get deep as quickly as possible. Getting this down and starting to trigger it sounds good. Read. I have really solid open attacks here next turn. Well, I guess I just grasped him undying the Aphelios. Do we grasp the Aphelios or do we grasp the goat? What are the odds they're playing Pale Cascade? Feels low. They did have Pale Cascade, brutal. Can't quite flush the toilet next turn. We'll go ahead and play Bloom Wanderer. Might be able to flush on our opponent's next turn. This puts us to 26 cards. This will put us to 24 with our draw for the turn. This is 4 down to 20, 17... 13, 11. Yeah, so we'll definitely be able to go deep this turn if we want to. Do I want to is the question, or would I rather play this and get into combat? Like, do I need to flush this turn? I don't think I need to flush this turn. I'm gonna try and kill one of these. There's a good chance they have a deal 3. From the Aphelios weapons they've generated. Two of their cards in hands are weapons.
Move short as the moon, brother.
Going harvesting.
I mean, you tossed from the bottom, right? So like we were never drawing that Vile Feast. We get to go ahead and play Thorny Toad and Dredge Dredgers here. We'll have pretty good defense against their open attacks, and then we'll be able to get deep on our next turn. Sure, but you need your bombs to hit mid-game. You hit your bombs mid-game if your deck is constructed correctly. Like, this is yet another game where I could have been deep on 7 if I wanted to be. Like, the fact that you're explicitly tossing non-champions means you find your bombs.
crescendo.
So, if we jettison, the toilet bowl will flush next turn. Which is nice. The bot does not do non-magic keywords.
Move towards the moon, brother.
So I'm gonna do this now in case they don't attack, because I really want to flush this next turn so we can get aggressive with it. 15 and below. When you hit 15, you go deep. We have 15 cards in our deck, and this is deep. This is the absolute best hit off of the toilet bowl, because it is a summon effect, which means we get 2 treasures into our deck. Start here and see if we draw a treasure. We drew both treasures! 5 to all the units, chat! So anyways, I started blasting. So, the treasures he puts into your deck, I'll have, if I'm tossed, draw me instead. Goodbye, friends. Only 5 cards in our deck, but remember when we play Nautilus, it puts a bunch of cards back in. I've got the plate worm egg here to reload our board.
Safety disengaged. A ticket
To the gun show. Are all of those champions? Yeah, they should be. Maokai? Rats, we're so unlucky, Chad. Didn't draw Maokai. If I do this, I should draw Maokai, right? God damn it, Bobby! Come on! Come on! Oh, I guess I should plate worm, because now I'm not guaranteed to draw Maokai next turn. Because he puts 4 idiots back in my deck. Yeah, that's wrong. He puts 5 idiots back in my deck. For reference, there were 4 cards in my deck. 2 of them were Nautilus, 2 of them were Maokai. We drew 2 cards and hit 2 Maokai. Or hit 2 Nautilus.
system upgrade.
This is a lovely one to get back. They like get a salvage here, I guess. Oh, they wanted Vicious Plateworm. Sure, yeah, they could have found that. That's true. We played a lot of spells that game, though. So not too surprising they didn't find it.
Cannot be sated.
Diana Felios. Interesting. I feel like Diana's pretty mediocre. She already struggled to be playable before the nerf. You ready to be deep, chat?
Night flowers upon my blade.
Yeah, we're gonna give Bloodborne a try after God of Dad of Boy is done. So probably like end of next week or the week after. We're getting pretty close to the end of Dad of Boy. Hey, morning, Ortog.
Her flowers bring the moonlight with them.
Nice. Does Zoe's effect give all your things deep? I'd imagine that that's the case, yeah. Yeah? That is the case, yeah. So I think we just play the other Slaughter Docks this turn and like try and just flush the toilet as quickly as possible. We're gonna be in a pretty good spot here, right? Because we're gonna get to like do this, and this, plus these toss a couple of times. Morning, window head. So there's 26 cards in my deck. This would put me to 22. This would put me to 18. Crap, I can't quite flush next turn. Unfortunate. Needed one more mana here. Think we probably just Vile Feast one of those. So we can get deep, but you have to be deep on the toss. So if my draw step puts me deep, these don't flush. Is the TLDR. Deep is a bonus that you get if you have 15 or fewer cards in your deck. So we're a self-mill deck. It gets a bonus once we're able to put that together. Our units get bigger in one of our champion levels. Basically, our sea monsters get large when we get to a certain size of our deck. We could get got by a Pale Cascade next turn. It could have been right to grasp this on our turn. You do lose if you run out of cards. That is correct. One of our two champions, our champion that cares about going deep, puts tossed allies back into your deck though. So like he unmills you some of them. So Daybreak and Nightfall explicitly refer to the order of which you play the cards in your turn. So Daybreak cards get a bonus. Daybreak cards get a bonus if they're the first card you've played in the turn. Nightfall cards get a bonus if they're explicitly not the first card you've played in a turn. We are about to take a metric truckload of damage here. Well, this is 11, 13, 17. Yeah, the fact that we couldn't get deep this turn is gonna kill us. Well, at least they can't Doom Beast us this turn. Okay, so we get to do that, which means we double flush next turn. And then we have Grasp of the Undying here to beat a Doom Beast at least. Whale would be a lovely draw. You're not wrong. It's a pretty good one. It's a mediocre one. So if they don't have Doom Beast, we could kill them this turn. I think there's a good chance they have Doom Beast, though, in their Nightfall deck. I'm gonna go ahead and play this out. If they go, like, Burst Speed Spell, Doom Beast, we grasp the Doom Beast in response to not die to the trigger.
Raise your weapon, Sunwood.
So this not only makes all of my monsters scary, but it gives enemies -2 attack, which is great. If this connects and gains us 3, this game should be over with the grasp in hand. Pengu Power, thank you for the 58 months. That is an absurdly long time. Welcome back, one of the OGs. We are dead to open attacks here, unfortunately.
Devotion to battle.
Back it up, back it in, let me begin. No longer dead to open attacks. We've been really good at drawing whale at clutch times today. To be fair, we had 3 it wasn't just whale that saved us there, right? So like we had 2 more grasps and I had 3 draws to find our 5 mana life gain things. I had 9 mana that turn. So it was nice that we hit it from the start. But we had a number of outs and we had 3 shots to get them. This matchup felt impossible when we played it a little bit ago. I think Maokai might actually be pretty instrumental to winning here. The fact that he produces lots of saplings to challenge our stuff down seems like big game.
Stuff make happy.
Yes, so open attacks basically refers to you doing something before your opponent has a chance to play slow spells or units, most importantly. So there's this really great tension in Runeterra when you're an aggressive deck between deciding if you want to attack as your first thing for your turn, because units in Runeterra effectively have haste. They can attack the turn you play them, but playing more units out means that your opponent also has a chance to play more units as blockers. So even though you could play more things that could attack as the aggressive deck, you could be giving up an advantageous position to deploy more things to the board because your opponent also gets to deploy more things to the board. The very fluid turn cycle of Runeterra is very rewarding and skill intensive compared to how like Magic and other games structure their turns where they're rigid. A big part of the player agency that Runeterra has a lot of comes from the fact that you can open attacks versus not and stuff like that.
Once I stamp papers, now faces.
Yeah, the opponent's archetype is very strong.
System
I think there's a good chance it's one of the best decks in the format. Yeah, I agree. The Burble Fish draws out of their deck are real busted. I think we just Vile Feast here plus Slaughter Docks, get this going. And then our best draw next turn is one of these. Well, I think we know both of those. Just unfortunate.
prime and ready. Rise, metal brethren.
So pretty.
System upgrade.
Yep.
Prime and ready.
23 cards, so these would put me to 15. So we'll play Slaughter Docks here, and we'll double Jettison, and we'll double Flush next turn. We start with 40 cards in our deck. 40 cards, and you have a 4-card starting hand, and you draw a card each turn. So hoping to hit one of the elusive monsters here. And this is a turn 5 deep again here, right? Just pretty quick. Yeah, if you like discard aggro, you'll probably love this archetype that our opponent's playing.
System upgrade. A ticket to the gun show.
So you can't respond to burst spells in Runeterra, Moondris. And most pump spells are burst spells, including the one that they played. Elusive monster, elusive monster. Well, I mean, if they don't kill us this turn, they're probably dead next turn. Da, 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 da. Unfortunately, bink bonk, we could be dead here. I think I'm doing this and then holding up Vile Feast here. That way I can gain at least one.
Join me if you want to live.
If you want to live. Yeah, I don't think this really matters though, right? Because they're going to generate another one of these next turn. Yep.
Not again.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm a liar. I think this deck's probably bad. We got bullied by like the decks that have popped up in the format, like the Twisted. We played the Twisted Fizz deck twice, and those games did not feel particularly close, and our interaction did not feel good, and it did not like the fact that we can't block in that matchup is huge. Like our discard aggro matchup, for example, is very good because all of these cards are meaningful pieces of interaction, but like the fact that our cheap things that help get us deep are completely unable to block in that aggressive matchup means we have to lean on things like Vile Feast and Grasp and Wail, and I think that means if that deck's gonna continue to be popular, and that deck's pretty popular. Let's pull up that. It was one of the more popular ones on Cosmic's report this week, right? Let's take a peekaboo here. I guess it was it. Oh yeah, it was right here, right? Fizz, TF Fizz, yeah. Yeah, it was number 4. Both 3 and 4 are pretty impressively bad matchups for Deep. I feel like Fiora Shen's not terrible, and Zombie Anivia is probably not bad either. Both of these are pretty rancid though. I don't know, maybe it's fine. Like, and that's the thing too, right? Like, again, without there being sideboards to like pull matchups up, without the ability to adjust and pivot, you basically just have to take your lumps and like. So like, while the ones I would classify as like being basically impossible are 17% of the format, that's 1 in 5, right? Which is pretty reasonable. I don't think the Fiora matchup's actually that terrible. You have some small units, but like one of our small units is a 3/2, and that the 3/2 stat line's pretty important because it means Fiora has to have a pump spell to eat it for free. And like our bigger units get online with some consistency, and we also have plenty of draws that don't involve playing out those smaller units. So like if you mulligan them appropriately, it's like not too big of a deal. So I think the Fiora matchup I would put in, these are definitely impossible, but the Fiora matchup I would put in the close to possibly favored category. Based on my experience playing so far. But yeah, I don't know. It's tough. Like, yeah. I'm gonna move off it. Let's play something else.